This park, the Spring Hill Park, is a very important aspect of the community. There is a need for, expanded park and recreation services here in this community. Enlarging the basketball court to make it more full scale.
How can we increase the utilization of the park? The reason that they don't use this court much is because it's only half court. We need a full court. The Boys and Girls Club is right around the way. The Resource Center is across the street. So it's just an ideal spot.
To have the court close enough for our kids from the Boys and Girls Club to be able to use is a plus. But not only our kids, but the kids in the community.
Now, one of the biggest issues nationally in the United States is childhood obesity because children are not active. You don't see people here. People who this park is meant to be don't use it.
Due to a lack of continuous improvements, in a community that is one of the lower income areas, this is a value that will be added. There's been community meetings that have brought a variety of different citizens together that has an interest in what is happening here in the community.
It seemed to be unanimous that that's what's needed for this area.
So there is a very strong community support for a project which is rare.
We've come up with a plan that we think is very responsible, but also meets the needs of this community. The renderings that are shown really expresses the views and desires and wishes of citizens of Spring Hill. And so the meetings that have been led and facilitated through Stetson, the county has been inclusive along with the cities, so it has been a comprehensive approach to this entire project that has involved all the key players.
We know that we've got very substantial flooding issues, and then the county was well aware of this, and so they kind of pushed us in this direction. And then we looked at the maps, and so looking at things like social vulnerability. And so with those two factors, it was a natural area to really kind of zoom in and look at what's happening.
When I purchased my house, Catalina wasn't a flood zone, so you weren't required, I wasn't required to have flood insurance. But it
You live on Catalina.
I live right on Catalina, but Catalina floods.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but a lot of people on Catalina, they don't have flood insurance because it wasn't categorized as a flood zone.
The FEMA flood maps are not reflecting that our communities are flooding. I mean, during Irma, West Cocoa had some people had 9 inches of flood water in their home. It's consistent across communities of color because a great deal of our communities are built on wetland.
What we're seeing now, for a whole variety of reasons that we still need to research, seems like the water tables are getting higher because we see within the ditches and the canals, they're right at capacity. And then the movement of the water is just not very fast. And so then particularly you get a big rainfall event. And so like a hurricane, we can get 10, 12 inches of rain in one day. And that's when we've really seen really severe flooding in these areas. It just overwhelms the drainage systems.
What we're trying to do is through these workshops is to work with you all, work with the county, work with others to have this bottom-up sort of process.
And what we hope to accomplish out of this meeting is being able to take all of this stuff that you came up with back to the county, to the cities, and to bring them together on helping us get to this point, modeling these solutions and bringing them back to you to show you this is what it can look like. Now we're going to go out and get the funding, the resources, and all of that to help you.
We don't like to use the word trying to solve the flooding, right? We're not going to solve the flooding, but we can help to address it.
We have Embry-Riddle. It's amazing the amount of data we can get from these drones. We are going to use these to get really high quality data to really key in on, what is the hydrology doing at a micro scale.
Phase 2 is to look for opportunities with green infrastructure, this idea of using kind of nature-based ways of trying to address the flooding.
One yard that does something to help reduce flooding isn't going to do much.
10,000 yards to help do something to help reduce flooding, it's going to help quite a bit.
And so that's where we're at. We're literally the next phase is to go and identify projects and then also look for funding sources.
We started working with the Markson model about 4 or 5 years ago with Volusia County. And we've been learning a lot. We've been jumping around each of the counties. And so the idea is thinking about conservation and thinking about flooding and think about resilience and how we can kind of merge these things together. The Markson model was developed about 25 years ago. We can use it for conservation land acquisition. We can use it for siting trails and other green space. Things like flood vulnerability assessments, which is what we're also going to be doing here. Even things like stormwater master plan updates, people use it for that. We're trying to cite, say, like green infrastructure. And then what I want to invite you to do, which we're going to talk about this some more, is I want you to look at these models, I want you to look at the outputs and be brutal, right? Be brutal about what's wrong with the model. To look at this and say, okay, what is it missing? So we want you all to make it kind of better and better.